For 20 years, he said nothing. Not a whisper, not a headline, not even when the world begged for more stories about her. But now, Darren McGrady, Princess Diana's former personal chef, is finally speaking. And what he's revealing about Diana's heartbreak, Camilla's shadow, and the quiet erasure of one of the most beloved women in modern history is nothing short of devastating. Because this isn't just a royal tell-all. It's the testimony of a man who watched it all unfold. From the kitchen, 1982, Buckingham Palace, Darren McGrady was 21, just a new recruit in the royal kitchen, chef number 20 out of 20. His days were filled with prepping vegetables, checking meat temperatures, and learning how to work in silence, the way palace staff were trained to do. That same year, the palace buzzed with the birth of Prince William, and with him came Diana, 21, shy, dazzling, and already feeling the weight of the crown. She wasn't like the others. Darren first noticed it at Balmoral. Royals didn't enter the kitchen, it was unspoken law. But Diana, she'd come barefoot, robe tied loosely, asking politely for orange juice or yogurt, and always, she said thank you. That's how it began, with yogurt and quiet smiles. In those early years, Darren witnessed something rare in the palace: warmth. Diana brought life to cold rooms, laughter to stiff dinners, humanity to an institution built on detachment. But behind her glow, something darker brewed: Camilla Parker Bowles. At first, it was whispers, glances, missed events. Then came nights Diana skipped her juice, a habit she'd never broken before. Darren made it anyway. She downed it in one gulp, eyes red. Silent. No words were needed. He knew. Camilla wasn't just a threat, she was already in the marriage. Diana and Charles's fights grew louder, echoing down the palace halls. Darren would freeze mid-chop as voices collided. Her name, Camilla, came up more than once. And the light in Diana's eyes, it dimmed. In 1992, it became official. Diana and Charles separated. She left Buckingham and moved into apartment 8 at Kensington Palace with William and Harry. Weeks later, Darren received a call. It was Diana. She didn't want a chef. She wanted him. I said yes before she even finished asking, Darren recalled. Life at Kensington was different, softer, more human. The grand halls of Buckingham were replaced with late-night chats, fresh flowers, and boys running barefoot through the corridors. But the shadow never left. Camilla's presence loomed like perfume that lingered long after she was gone. Darren heard staff whisper that Camilla was thrilled. "He's mine now," she supposedly told a friend. Whether Diana ever heard that or not, Darren saw the toll. The skipped meals, the weight loss, the haunting quiet after putting the boys to bed. And then, one night, Diana lingered in the kitchen. She wasn't there for juice. She just stood, staring into nothing. Then, almost to herself, she said,
"I've always known. I'll never be queen. That girl who took my husband will be queen someday."
Darren didn't speak. She didn't need him to.
"Don't worry,"
she added, wiping a tear.
"You just had to listen."
August 31st, 1997. The kitchen at Kensington Palace was quiet. Darren had prepped Diana's meal, a light dish. She was returning from Paris that night. The plan was simple: dinner with the boys before they headed back to school. The kind of normal night Diana craved. Then the television flickered. Princess Diana, in a car crash. At first he thought it was a hoax, but it was on every channel. And then the palace faxed over her will. That's when it hit. She was gone. The plate Darren had prepared sat on the counter, untouched. The kitchen, once full of life, went silent. Staff wept in corners. Guards bowed their heads. And Darren? He stood frozen, grief sinking like lead into his chest. More than 2.5 billion people watched her funeral, but behind the cameras, another story unfolded, one of rage, betrayal, and silence. Camilla reportedly wanted to attend. The Queen said no. Darren agreed. If she'd shown up, he said later, it would have felt like the person who helped break her heart was returning to watch it be buried. Years passed. Darren moved to the U.S. He ran a catering business, stayed out of the spotlight, stayed loyal, until 2023, when Darren publicly supported the coronation of King Charles and Queen Camilla. Royal watchers were stunned. "You've turned your back on her memory," one commenter wrote. "Diana's spirit won't rest if you cheer for the woman who hurt her." At first, Darren tried to explain. "Time has passed," he said. "You can honor the past and still respect the present." But the backlash lit a fire in him, one that had been smoldering for decades. So he started speaking, and when he did, the words came sharp and clear. "She is pure evil." He wasn't being theatrical. He wasn't being cruel. He was being honest. Darren described how after Camilla moved into Clarence's house, then Buckingham Palace, Diana's presence began to vanish. Photos removed, charities quietly shelved, flowers replaced. It wasn't redecorating, he said. It was rewriting. Darren remembered walking through those halls and seeing Diana's pictures, her with the boys, her smiling, laughing, living. And then, one by one, they disappeared. Only one photo remained, tucked in a private room. Then, 3 years later, even that was gone. "How can someone feel so threatened by a memory?" Darren asked. It wasn't even a person anymore, just a photo, and even that was too much for her. That's when he said it. "She is pure evil." Some say Darren should have stayed silent. That loyalty means letting the past be the past, but to him, loyalty meant something else. "Moving forward," he said, "doesn't mean we bury the truth. It doesn't mean we forget the cost." He wasn't speaking out of bitterness. He was speaking out of love. Love for a princess who laughed barefoot in the kitchen, who handed out blankets to the homeless from her car, who smiled through pain and kept her dignity in a world built to strip it from her. "I owe her that," Darren said. "After everything she lived through, the least I can do is protect her story. All of it. Even the hard parts." As Camilla now sits beside a crowned king, Darren's voice reminds us of a truth too often buried. That behind the palace walls, behind the glittering crowns and golden carriages, lived a woman who never stopped hurting. A woman who, in her own words, always knew, "I'll never be queen." If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe, not just for the crown, not just for the scandal, but for Diana, the woman, the mother, the heart behind the headlines. May her memory never be erased.